I could have gone a lot of different routes in my life based on the things that had happened to me. No matter what experience that they've gone through, no matter where you're at in your life, we can actually change the way you think and feel, and you can react to life in a more positive manner. I didn't know that.
Thank you for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Ollie and Crystal, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Icon Industries before I introduce our freaking amazing guest. You guys are going to love her. Look at what the shirt I wore just for her. Just want to let you know that without Icon Industries, Shane times 3, because you love yourself so much, you went and got 2 other people with the same name. Steven, I love you. I didn't want you to feel lonely, so we named the eel after you. And everybody else at Icon Industries, we can't do this without you. Without further ado, I have today our special guest, Crystal Lynn Privett, author, motivational speaker, leader, mindset services CEO, incredible person. And you are in for it today. Crystal, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Have you been on a video podcast before?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think my last one was a couple weeks ago for a women wealth management company.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about podcasts?
I love podcasts because it's such a practical way for people to connect with other people on a broad platform.
Right.
And people are just listening to podcasts when they're doing their work at home or just in their car rides. It's almost like it's great to write a book, but sometimes people don't have the time to sit down and read it. And our podcast is digestible. I love that.
I 1000% agree with you. Like it's, if you're an author, what a great way to publicize your book by getting the message out there on as many platforms, because your audience is going to connect with you. You know, they'll find you eventually. You have a very fascinating story as I was doing the research. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's quite a story. There's a lot of layers to it. But
a lot of layers.
I must have been stubborn because I didn't realize that I could get all that power working for me instead of against me.
Yeah.
I was kind of headed down the wrong direction in life, and I didn't realize my spirit was kind of trying to redirect me. And now I get to help people who've been through hell because I've already been through hell and back. I can show you the way. Take a left turn here, because a lot of the things that I've been through, a lot of people have also experienced.
It's funny how those moments of change in our lives help us find our purpose. It's crazy. Yeah.
It's almost like we're being hardened. Like we're being tested. I don't want a knight in shining armor. I want a knight that's armor is dented and has, nicks in it. I'm all messed up, because in reality, we're all warriors. We're all out there. It's spiritual warfare, mental warfare, emotional warfare. Every day we show up differently to the world, and it's our choice how we get to show up as human beings. Humans are the only creatures that consciously get to choose how they feel. So even if we are in a moment of stress or frustration or anxiety, we can snap out of it. And that's basically what I get to do, is teach people to have tools and resources when they're struggling to work themselves out of it. Because let's be honest, I even use what I use on a daily basis. Yesterday, I was having a rough day, and I ended up diving into my work, and it helped me get through it. And without the tools and resources, I don't know where I would be. You've heard my story.
Well, you would be your old self.
Well, you've heard my story. There have been moments where I had been suicidal. There were moments where the pain was getting to be so much, and I didn't have any light at the end of the tunnel. And when you can't see that light, it's very lonely and painful, and the pressure feels like it's going to suffocate you sometimes. And I didn't know we could change the way we feel. That's why I'm on top of rooftops in San Diego, on the top of the skyscrapers, shouting out that we can feel better, because I didn't know that there was a scientific way to change our brain, that we could actually grow new parts of our brain. I had no idea. And then I started learning about neuroplasticity and started going into quantum mechanics and finding out how the science.
I'm a Joe Dispenza guy.
Yeah.
I get it.
All of it.
You're going to enjoy this. Like, we have a lot to talk about because you don't know me.
Nope.
And the funny thing is, like, I think things happen at a certain time. People come into your lives at a certain point. You have no idea. Like, I've actually done my homework. I'm really, really excited to get to know you on camera. And we're just going to have a conversation. I will share with you one of the things that I think it's really important is authenticity. You know, I believe in being real. And so we've gone through this evolution on this podcast of what's our identity as a show? Like, what impact are we going to make on our community? And we want to put incredible people that are doing incredible things for incredible reasons.
Guess that's why I'm here.
Bam. Okay. So I set you up for that. And it's also to say, like, there's a lot of, like, in my industry, I'm in real estate. So hype is something that we have to deal with because, you know, just because you could say you've done something doesn't necessarily, you know, so I'm also fascinated by that. And I want you to talk about, like, help our audience understand, how do I go and actually pick a life coach? You know, what are the criteria that I should look for? You know, and I think a lot of that is relationship building. So today it's really getting your message out there, Crystal. Like, what is it that sets you aside from everyone else? And I love your passion already. It's like, you're not doing this for the monetary gain. Like, that's a part of it. Like, we all have to live, but it's your why.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what I want to dig into. And for me, I'm a huge Seth Godin fan, storytelling. So I'll ask you a lot to just kind of like, so when you were going through, you know, the medical issues, I saw a podcast at the Carlsbad Chamber, you know, that you did with them, and it talked about, like, you said you were in so much pain. And what I was thinking in that moment was, like, I just wonder, you know, you got younger kids, you know, it's tough. Like, what were you feeling in that moment? You know what I mean? Because those are the things that I think people connect with, is when we're real and vulnerable. And I don't know about you. Do you see a lot of that? Do you see a lot of authenticity on social media from your experience?
Well, that's why I'm trying to lead from the front and being vulnerable in even some areas that are very uncomfortable for me to come forward with my truth, with some of my childhood experiences that literally only in the last several years I've been actually able to talk about. And it's because what you said is accurate. Authenticity is so important. They even did a recent study where they have these new machines and stuff that can detect, like, auras and energies and stuff, like cameras. And they put a group, I think it was 2,500 people into a room, and they did measurements on all these different emotions that were able to be sensed from this camera. And they found that authenticity was 4,000 times stronger than love. So a lot of people think love is the highest emotion, but you can have authentic love, which I'm sure is probably even higher if you add that authenticity. But if we're not being who we really are, life will give you what I was going through: situations, experiences, medical concerns, because our our subconscious uses that to get our attention. People, places, emotions, our body. So my subconscious was trying to tell me that I needed to leave a relationship and start going down my path. Little did I know, I remember this moment where I was in my marriage and things were very painful and I didn't see an end. And I would spend a lot of time crying. I would be in the fetal position and cry myself to sleep when my kids didn't see me because I was very sad. And I remember there was a day where I was, like, kind of at a breaking point. And I remember that day very, very vividly because there have been moments in my life where I've struggled, mostly because of my childhood, that I didn't realize. You know, I thought I pushed it down. I thought, oh, I forgot about that. But the way the subconscious mind records everything, And Joe Dispenza talks about this. You have to remove that emotional attachment to that situation, or like a videotape, it keeps playing over and over in our mind. And we see this in old people all the time where they repeat like 3 stories and it's like, okay, Uncle Earl, I heard that story before, but that's because that's on repeat. So things that we might not even realize are running below the surface. That was what I had going on for me. I thought I'd pushed a lot of my childhood trauma to the side, and it had kept resurfacing. And I had some sexual stuff happen in my marriage where I was, hurt, and it resurfaced for me a lot of past stuff. So I had been raped in high school. I had molestation and human trafficking in my childhood. So my father had actually, the first 6 years of my life, not only kind of stole my innocence, but he also shared me with people in the community so he could, whatever his reasons were, that's something I had to learn to heal past, because telling that part of my story isn't fun for me. It brings up a lot of pain. There's people in my family that are like, why are you talking about this? It's because I need to talk about this so other people know that they're not alone, and that there's a way to heal from those bad thoughts that keep going in our mind. And I'm sure I'm not the only person who's ever felt like I felt paralyzed by my emotions. It was so painful. And I was in a relationship that person didn't care about me at all. But I so desperately didn't want to have a divorce because I came from a divorced family. I just kept trying to push that square peg into a round hole 5 years longer than I probably should have, because I have young children. I have 2 teenage boys, and I wanted to do the right thing for them. But my message for the viewers listening is the right thing for you is what your intuition is telling you, what your heart is telling you. If we don't follow what our heart is saying, then it will create situations in your life to get your attention. And I don't think people want to go through some of the experiences that I did. I had to fall and crack my skull open. And when I cracked my skull, I didn't know. I fell so hard that I broke my teeth in the back. And then I didn't know that they were a hairline fracture. So fast forward 5 years, my entire jawbone was eaten away by a bacterial infection. And I was starting to lose consciousness and pass out all the time. I wasn't sure what was going on. And they did a 3D x-ray, and they found that there was no more bone inside there. So then I had to rebuild my jaw and remove the roof of my mouth to put in bone so they could screw in new teeth. At the end of 13 very painful surgeries, I ended up separating from my ex. We had a vacation rental that I had rented out for an entire year. COVID hit. It was right around COVID, so I lost an entire year's worth of bookings. It was over $100,000 in about 7 days. And then I was thinking, okay, I'm starting this independence. I want to get past these health ailments. And I tripped and fell and broke my ankle in 4 places. So I start the beginning of my new independence laying in bed, immobile, in the middle of a global pandemic, having to raise my 2 boys and take care of 2 dogs on 1 foot. So the physical pain that I went through was over 10 years of being in pain every day. But the emotional pain that I've been through has been even stronger.
Wow.
Yep.
You're a champ.
Yep.
First and foremost. I'm in awe, shocked. As parents, I think parenting is one of the most rewarding and challenging things of our lifetimes. Yeah. So to imagine you're going through all of that havoc, chaos internally, and you don't have a choice. You got to parent. What was it that pushed you through to continue to move forward and not stop? Because I'm just trying to connect with your emotion. How did you not just want to get in a fetal position and not get up?
I was trying that actually, and it wasn't working. I was spending a lot of time in bed crying. I was in the fetal position, just kind of stuck in a state of despair. I knew I was stuck. I knew I didn't want to be in the situation I was in, but I didn't know how to get out. And then I started to become a health coach. So I got licensed and certified to become a health coach because I had some additional health ailments that when my father that had done that to me passed away, I went out to see him on his deathbed to kind of give my parting grace and some closure. And my family decided that they were going to have me written out of the will, and that they decided to have me escorted out of the hospital, that I didn't deserve to say goodbye to him because I chose not to have a relationship with him after what had happened to me. So I didn't know. I basically had a very adverse reaction to being rejected from seeing him and trying to get that closure. And so my body started shutting down. My adrenal glands, my liver, my kidneys, everything was like on the brink of not working anymore. I was actually, if I ate red meat, I was like passing out and like really feeling very sick. At the time, my mother-in-law went to the same doctor as I did, and she had a lot of health concerns. And he saw both of us, and he said, she's in really bad shape, but you're actually in worse shape. And for me, that was a huge wake-up call because I'm starting to figure out the mind, body, and soul connection. I didn't realize that they were all connected and that my emotions and my pain could have been affecting my physical health. So I actually went postmenopausal at 33. I had no more period. I had the endocrine system of a 90-year-old lady. So I started to do health. I went to this naturopathic doctor I found, Dr. Mike Oguchi, and he helped me go on a detox diet. So I ate nothing but organic fruits and vegetables for about 7 months and olive oil, nothing else.
How was it?
It was very hard. I didn't realize how much other food we ate besides fruits and vegetables. Just even the meat and some of the carbs. So it was very difficult, but I started to feel a lot better. And we were doing a lot of like EMF therapy and foot detox and saunas and everything to cleanse and just get all the toxins out of my system. And actually, I did some energy work and I was healing, and I actually got my period to start again. So we actually reversed a lot of the issues through the healing and the nutrition. So that's what drove me into the nutrition aspect. But it wasn't shortly after I started as a health coach that I realized that most people's issues needed more than food to heal them. And including myself, I needed more tools and resources to get past where I was right then, because I had a few people that were kind of mentoring me because I didn't have that many friends at the time. But I went to a retreat in San Diego with a woman named Jenny Harkleroad, who's here in Escondido. And she teaches and trains the process. She created the process that I teach. And it was a women's retreat on the bay. So the sailing was like a little bit of an incentive, but
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what the funniest thing is?
What?
I was thinking about your story and I'm like, I wonder if Crystal knows, like, she got into her why because of the bay. Because the only reason, it sounded like the only reason you went was because you wanted to be on the bay on a cruise. Like classic.
It was.
I wonder if she realizes that.
And a friend of mine suggested it, and I kind of had an intuition that it was something I needed.
Right.
But the moment I did, the first day of that retreat, I knew my life had changed because I found my purpose. There was something that came over me. I was like, finally, I understand that all of the stuff that happened to me, all of those bad experiences, the physical ailments, the bad relationships, the child stuff, all of it happened. But now I could convert it and change it and make how I wanted to be. Because honestly, I could be a drug addict, like on the corner with the amount of stuff that I, have done. I could have gone a lot of different routes in my life based on the things that had happened to me. And I want people to know, no matter what experience that they've gone through, no matter where you're at in your life, we can actually change the way you think and feel, and you can react to life in a more positive manner. I didn't know that. And now that I know that I can help people transform the way they think and feel, so many people deserve to benefit from this work. The veterans with PTSD, domestic violence victims, human trafficking survivors, people who are in corporate that are working themselves to the burnout state, teenagers. There's a lot of pressure on the young kids right now. Groups of people, like there's so many people that deserve this support. That's why I'm here today, because this is a beautiful podcast. It's a beautiful platform for people to be able to go out into the community. And that's probably why I did earn that Business Professional of the Year award at the Carlsbad Chamber, because I've been trying to continue to put my services out into the world. And even if someone can't afford my services, I always make room for them. There's always some kind of support for them.
Look at you go. Look at you go. Okay, so Times Square. Tell me about that. Like, I want to hear that story. So, Crystal, I do a lot of research on guests.
Yeah.
My influencers are Oprah, Joe Rogan. I'm really into this growth space. Like, I started later on in life.
Yep.
Getting into the, how do you become the best version of yourself so you can make a bigger impact on this world and actually be a role model that your kids can look up to, that talks, walks the walk. And it really does make a difference. I have 3 boys, so we definitely have the boys in common. It's fascinating to me, like how, when I was growing up, you don't talk about mindset. Like, you're a guy. You don't like, you fall down, boy, you better. And how did that serve us today? So I'm always a huge fan of people that are spending time with the youth, because I think the solution to a lot of our community challenges, in my opinion, are being more effective parents. I think parenting is going to be one of the biggest solutions to some of the issues that we're seeing, because we need to reconnect.
There were a lot of latchkey kids that had to raise themselves that now need to learn how to be parents again. Yeah. And because we didn't have it by example, we have to kind of decide how we want to parent. And what was interesting about me was I had a huge epiphany that my children had never met me.
Oh, shit.
Because
wow.
Because they had only
what a statement that is. They
had only met the version of me that cooked and cleaned and took them to school. They didn't know that their mom was an entrepreneur. At first, when I started doing my charity books and I started to do a lot of the events that I was doing, they'd be like, "Mom, you can't do that. Don't do that. You're going to fail." And because they had never seen that side of me, they didn't know that I had taken businesses to $2.3 million and I was the youngest manager in over 500 stores. They didn't know that I'd helped other men become millionaires by supporting their businesses. I knew I had skills and resources within me that were being kind of underutilized. And so basically they only saw me as that version that was disempowered. So this journey, like you said, for our children, and why that Times Square event was so beautiful for me was I was volunteering for my children's school at the PTA, and I ended up being the only person in this one event, which was to raise $17,000 for the school. I did all the spirit wear, so we created T-shirts and sweatshirts and pajama pants, and somehow I ended up managing like a 4-person job. I'm sitting in the car and I have all this stuff in the back of my car, and I'm going, how did I get roped into this? Why am I doing this all by myself? And then all of a sudden I get a phone call and I'm like, oh, I should answer this. I have just a couple minutes before I need to get in there and start schlepping all these pajama pants.
Schlepping.
And it was a magazine called Professional Organization of Women of Excellence Recognized.
You are one of those.
And they called me and they said, we had just featured you as Woman of the Month last month, but we only get a couple of these opportunities a year where we want to feature you on New York Times Square. And I was like, wait, what? And here I'm in my own pajama pants getting ready to go do
that's great.
It was classic. And I'm like, I look up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to enjoy I'm going to continue my service. But they invited me to be part of that billboard. And when I got to stand there, I ended up flying to New York when it was up. And that was the first moment, other than the 2 times when I gave birth to my children, I looked up at that billboard, and I was on the Paramount building in Times Square, and I was like, wow, this is what it feels like to be proud of yourself.
Bam! Wow. That is freaking awesome. Folks, I wish you were here. The energy and vibe is freaking amazing. Like, I'm literally experiencing, I'd be looking up like, holy shit, how life is different now. What did you feel like in that freaking moment when you were looking up?
It was so awesome because it wasn't just for me. Like, I don't do anything just for myself. I'm not self-made. I'm community made. And when I do this stuff, it's every person I've ever helped. When I see myself up there, I see them. I see the people that are stuck. I see the people that I will help in the future. I see the people that don't feel like they're seen. And I know that they might feel lonely and they might feel isolated and they may not have met me yet, but I'm cheering for them. And when I do these things, it's not just for me. It's for the world. I literally feel like it's my responsibility to show up with authenticity so that I can be a hope. I can be a glimmer that if I've been through what I've been through, I know I'm not alone. I have some intense scars. I've been through a lot, but everybody's been through something. And these people out there need to hear this message that they're loved exactly like they are. And when you see me on a billboard, that's not me. It's you.
I'm in. I'm a Crystal fan. I will. Whatever your cause is, I'm in. Crystal, I'm absolutely like, you're in my local community. I didn't even know who you were. That blows my mind away. Isn't it crazy? Like, with all of the information that's accessible to us.
Yep.
You're in our local community, literally 12 miles down the street in beautiful Carlsbad, San Diego.
Yep. But I called Escondido home for 15 years.
And Escondido, she has a permanent invitation, by the way. What you've helped me understand is like perspective. It's, as you do the inner work, I think you show up differently for the world.
Yep.
And we need more silence to do the work on ourselves. So I'm such a huge fan of like you being authentic. Really, I mean, I'm really just blown away that you're sharing so much of your life story, because I think that empowers other people to say, hey, it's okay to talk about our imperfections. Social media is our best. How about we talk about our worst and be real and open with each other? And that's a different level of connection. What are your thoughts about that?
Thank you for bringing this up. First of all, when I started this journey, I was primarily focused on helping women, because I feel like women were at a place, because this is about my 4th year in business. So right during the pandemic, I felt like women really needed that extra support at that time. Plus, with what I had been through, it felt a little bit safer for me to focus on women. So I have this beautiful tribe of women that are still with me this whole period since the day I started, that still see me every week. So I have advanced classes, and I have Zoom classes every week that I host. So the women are very important to me, but I want to take this opportunity that you opened up this conversation to talk about the men, because I feel like the men are underserved. I feel like the social conditioning is not benefiting them, where they feel like they can't talk about their problems. And as a mom of teenage boys, and as I had 5 brothers growing up, I get the male brain, probably more than most women do, because
I'm
of
glad
that
you
brain.
do, because I don't get it. I don't get the male brain. I have one. I'm still trying to figure this shit out.
There's literally only 3 things you really want. It's pretty simple. You can figure those out. But the reality is that men need an opportunity and a space to be able to feel seen and to feel heard and to know that it's okay to talk about their problems, because when they stuff them in, just like what happened to me, they're going to end up with a physical ailment or a car accident, or because I haven't even gone to the car accidents. I don't know how many I've been in. I don't know if you know that. There's probably been close to 9, and at least 3 of them I almost died. So car accidents are something the universe will use to redirect you. And that's something that men need to know, that there is a safe space for them, that they can come to someone like myself, or like you asked earlier, whoever they resonate with, whatever your heart says. There's a saying that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So for those men that are out there that have these emotions in them, that most likely are playing every day over and over and over again. So there's some really interesting science, and I get nerdy about the science.
Get nerdy.
Because people get stuck in these negative loops and don't realize it.
Groundhog Day.
Yep. So every morning when we wake up, 80% of our thoughts are negative, and 90% of them are a repeat of yesterday. So that means every morning when we wake up and we think we're having a fresh start, it's not really as fresh as we think it is, because we're residing in the residual of some of that remaining stuff. We wake up, we're like, oh, I forgot to do this. I still have to do that. And we get straight into it. So one thing that's can be beneficial is setting up a morning routine, or doing like affirmations for yourself in the morning. But the process that I teach will help with that. Like, you sleep better, you just feel more like yourself. And men love this process because they don't have to talk about their problems. So
Dude, what are you talking about? We're great at that.
But
I open up all the time.
But you can actually change the way you feel by thinking about it and not actually even having to verbalize it. So most of the time when men come in, they look like a deer in front of the headlights for about the first.
Are you just laughing at us? You love it, don't you?
I wrap so much love in my sessions, but I definitely am graceful because I know that it's a little nervous for them. But once they get over that first initial process, when we do the first balance, because we're balancing the hemispheres of your brain, down the giant butt crack of our brain, there's this thing called the corpus callosum. It's like a giant nerve ending, and it gets really rigid and hard over age and when stressful things happen. So we actually go into a theta brainwave state that drops that brain bridge down, so your left and right brain communicate to one another. So you just feel calm and relaxed and peaceful. And men don't get very many opportunities to just feel calm and relaxed and peaceful and supported, because most of the time you guys are providing and protecting. So for you to feel safe is not very common. So my clients instantly feel better. When they leave a session from me, they feel better when they started. There's a transformation process that happens. I utilize kinesiology, and we dive into like a science-based process that their energy guides me each step of the way. But once we're done, they feel completely different than when they started. And that, for myself, it's like, I love that. And then ironically, once the men realize they don't have to talk about their problems, then most of the time they ended up open. The floodgates are open, actually.
Really?
It's opposite.
That is fascinating.
Because then they're like, well, I don't have to, but it's safe and I'm comfortable. So now
I can tell you why. Okay, so having you, I'm just going to talk about my experience with energy and vibe. Having you here, I see it. Like, you have balance. You can just feel it. It's just like you exude positivity. I'm like, I'm in. This is the person you want to have around you. It makes a huge difference when people are doing things for the right reasons. You can tell.
Yeah. I hope to spread more hope. I know that there are people out there that need, like you didn't know I existed. So I need to keep
now I do
spreading
know.
the word, though.
Now I do.
I need to keep letting people know, because the people that haven't heard about me are most likely the ones that need me the most. I mean, let's be honest, just from the pandemic and COVID alone, literally every single person on planet Earth could benefit from using my services unless they didn't want to feel better.
Yeah.
That's how it comes down to. They did a really cool study on the brain. The same scientist that Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton use. His name is Dr. Jeffrey Fannin. And
I saw your article. Please.
They put the electrodes on the brain and watched the process I teach unfold while it was measuring the brain. And they found that in 17 seconds that it changes the chemicals in your brain if you're thinking of something good or if you're thinking of something bad.
Right.
And then in 68 seconds, the cells in your body begin to change. So if you're having a negative experience and you're holding on to it and it's just like you're frustrated, the rest of your day is probably going to be pretty bad. You're going to stub your toe, you'll spill your coffee, you'll be late for work. You'll just want to end that day. And we've all had those days when you're like, I just want to go back to bed. It's like nothing is working out. But the same can be said in the opposite. We can actually get that power working for you instead of against you. We can get a positive manifestation loop and we've had those days as well, where everything's in alignment and everything falls into place. And you're like, how could this possibly be? I was called to go to Vegas for a speaking engagement. And I had like literally 3,000 things that had to go right for me to make it because it was the same day. They were like, we want you here. I'm like, I'm not so sure about this, but let's see. And I did my process to see if I was supposed to go. And it was like, yeah, you're supposed to go. And little did I know, every single one of those things fell into place all day long. And I ended up in Las Vegas the same day as when I was called over there. So it's interesting how the universe works. I like to say when you feel those synchronicities, it's like your highest self or your spirit, like leaving little breadcrumbs saying that you're going in the right direction. But when you feel the resistance, when things aren't working out, it's your spirit saying, don't go that way.
I got you. Now I know. Okay. So when you said you're like, a person's energy will speak to me and guide me to the solution that they need. That makes perfect sense what you just said. It's all connected.
Yeah. But also it's not just me. I'm not some woo-woo. I use kinesiology.
No. Yeah. It's not. Okay. Can you talk about the woo-woo? I don't know if you deal with this in your industry, with social media, content, branding. There's a lot of hype. Mm-hmm. A lot of hype without the resume to back it up.
Yep.
Do you deal with that in your industry? And then how would you advise our audience on how to select someone that can really be the change for them or guide them to change?
Yeah. So most likely their spirit will guide them to who they feel the strongest connection with. And that would be my suggestion, is whoever you feel genuinely connected to. But you also want to see, is that someone that I would swap bank accounts with? Is that someone who's living their life through values and integrity that I would want to live? For me, I select my coaches and mentors by if they're inspiring to me. If I feel like I can feed off of their inspiration. Right now, I'm working with Forbes Riley. She sold $2.6 billion worth of products. I get to go to her home studio in Florida at the end of the month and record commercials with her.
You poor thing.
I know.
I'm a little jealous.
I know. Well,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was an investment, but it's one worth making. You have to invest in ourselves. And same thing with the coaches. We can get through life without a coach. But if you can get through life better and easier and with more fun and feeling like you're supported, which one would you prefer? Do you want to do it alone or do you want to do it with some help?
Okay. So I did some research and I really wanted to prepare and honor your industry and your profession. So when I looked up coaching, $4.5 billion industry. Mm-hmm. Okay. And for all the great ones, there's like 10 bad ones. And that's pretty much, I think, any industry. So it really is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was curious about. Like, how do I know who to trust? Like, how do I know? You obviously talk about energy and vibe checking. You know, we did our homework. Like, I saw all your reviews, all the success stories. And I think that's really what it comes down to is there's an obligation, Crystal, for you to go out to as many podcasts, which is, hey, let me educate you about my industry. Let me educate you the difference on how you can guide yourself to a more healthier you.
Yeah.
And that's why I was really excited because I'm like, okay, because you don't know this and the audience doesn't know this, but I will want to talk to you about coming on regularly and just kind of, there's a lot of layers to you. You have entrepreneurship that you've gone through. There's parenting. When you wrote, I have a question for you on the book, Crystal Clear Mindset. Talk about the journey of writing a book. It's Amazon best-selling. You're working with big corporations. Like, you started 4 years ago? Get them.
But I was also being held back for about 17 years. So once they let go of the reins, it was like,
oh shit. Okay, so you became Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Got it. Good analogy. You've never had that on a podcast.
No.
I just love that.
It's true though. I mean, I was underserving myself and my community.
Get it.
And
good for you.
And so for people to take me seriously, I had to lead from the front, and I've done it since day one. Like the first big, huge Facebook event I had, I still have the women that were on that group as my clients, and that was 4 years ago. So the things that I do, we mentioned this before. It's not for me. It's for my little small hometown. My graduating class of 80 people in Frederick, Colorado. Shout out to the 303 because I still have.
Did you give out a shout out to the 303 and the 619?
I did because you know what? There's people from that little town that never got out.
Oh.
There's people from that little town that message me weekly, monthly, that say, we're watching you, we're proud of you, we see what you're doing. And when I have a hard day, when I'm struggling, like I had a little bit of a rough day yesterday, those are the people that I'm thinking of. I'm like, this isn't just for me. It's for the people that are sitting on their bed, laying in the fetal position like I was 5 years ago, before I knew that but now I know why I was so sad, because look what was hiding inside of me. I was a glorified maid that was way underappreciated. And I was a 7-time best-selling author. I was meant to be featured on New York Times Square. This is actually, this was my 5th book. My first books, I actually started out with charity books.
I know. You said that.
Only went to
that was
charity.
A little nugget.
Yeah. So those books are still gaining money for charities across the world for domestic violence, human trafficking. This beautiful organization called the 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. They've banded together these 13 grandmas from across the world to help women and children in their communities. How cool is that these grandmas now have a purpose and we can help support them? And children that don't have access to the arts. So all of those are charities that will continue to make money when you buy those books off of Amazon. And then Crystal Clear Mindset actually has very little to do with me. I'm only in it in a couple chapters because it was really meant to be about the person reading it. It's kind of an interactive book. It's something that came to me that I don't know if anyone else has done it that way before, but each chapter goes into one of my 12 areas of growth. There's something called the Cycle of Consciousness tool. They can download it at mindsetservice.com or it's in the book. And you can gauge your mental health in 12 areas. And then each of those 12 areas are chapters in the book. And then so you can kind of decide in your relationships or your finances or your environment or your spirituality what you'd like to upgrade to. And then I walk you through it. You can either read through the process in the book, Or there's a little course that I created that's embedded in the book, and you can pull it up and I walk you through the process. So whether you learn better through reading or you're not by a computer, or if you want my help and you feel more guided to have that kind of help, it's really meant so that it's an interactive book that you can find the things holding you back and then reprogram your subconscious.
I love that you have so many different solutions and options for people at all levels, because that's, I think, a holistic approach, which is, hey, not everyone can afford it. You said, like, this isn't, I think it really comes down to care. Like, we just need to spend more time caring about each other. This makes life so much easier.
Which is why I have such a great network, because the people,
yeah, you do.
The people that are in my community are awesome. And
so are you. You're awesome. Like, this is very few times do I go in and I'm like, whoa, okay, wow, all right, okay. This is one of those times because, with the book, like, I really wanted to dig into mindset service. Mm-hmm. Like that was the whole goal, is get to know Crystal, have a real conversation. And I think that's what, the beauty of podcasting is. Like, I want an opportunity to connect with you, and that's why storytelling is so freaking amazing. Like, can you share a success story of someone that just blows your mind away that you've supported over the past 4 years, where you're like, man, I appreciate this person. Is there a cool story you could share?
There's so many. I'm trying to think of which one.
I know. I set you up on that one.
Okay, so I'm going to do two.
Go for it.
One I'm probably not supposed to talk about, but I want to talk about it because I'm probably not supposed to talk about it.
Get it? By the way, everyone just saw Crystal's Rebel come out right here.
So the first one that was really cool was a lady that came to one of my women's group classes, because every Wednesday at noon I hold a women's group that's free, and it's a donation if you feel like you want to donate, but that's like the space I hold is a give back. So this one lady came to one class one time, and she's like, wow, I felt so great afterwards. It was almost like a joke, but she's like, I don't know, and I'm just doing it for fun. She applied to her dream job, which was producing this television show. And she's like, I might not get it, but I'm just went for it. I was feeling so good after we did that. Well, they needed her right away. It was 48 hours later, she was producing this TV show in Budapest. She had traveled and was working, doing the job that she was dreaming of less than 2 days before that. So that one,
and she didn't think it was possible. Like, she's like, no chance. That was her shot in the dark.
Joke. She thought, she was like,
she was applying for a joke. I love it.
Yeah, so that one was pretty cool. And there's a gentleman named Rod Baker, and he was in the hospital. He was, I'm trained in a couple different ways to utilize this process. I met him in one of my other trainings, but I only use one one form of this, which is my Summit Transformation. So I met this gentleman. So he kind of knew that we could transform medical and health concerns as well. And he was in the VA hospital. He had blood poisoning and they had him in ICU. It was really bad. And I said, let me see if I can help you. And he was like, well, I don't know. Because our other process it was a lot more labor intensive. And he's like, I can't do all that stuff right now. I said, well, I can actually surrogate this session for you, and I can do it on your behalf if you give me permission. Because that's the caveat. You have to have permission from someone. And so I texted him about 30 minutes later. I'm like, I don't know. Hopefully it helps in some way. If you could just let me know if you have any, because I had just learned how to do that process. And I got back instantly, my God, girl, in all caps, you are a powerful healer. And I was fairly new. This was like year one. And I was like, what's going on here? And he said that the doctors had just walked in, because in ICU in the VA hospital, they have you hooked up to every machine imaginable. And when they walked in, they were like, what just happened? And they're like, we didn't give you any medicine. Nothing else had changed. His white blood cell count had entirely normalized. He went from having severe blood poisoning to being fine. So they're like, well, let's rerun all the tests. And he was a day or 2 days later, he was back on his farm, reading the Bible and preaching on Facebook and back at it. And
So did you do that remotely?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You can do it in person or remotely. I do virtual sessions.
Was he blown away? Like, I mean, because you know what I'm saying? Like, you're sitting here, you're like, okay, no medication. He's got blood poisoning. You know, is the mind really that powerful? Is energy that powerful that it could make that much of a difference?
It is.
Crazy.
It is. And that gentleman has a very connected energy to his spirit. That was, I think, his fourth near-death experience. And I think some of them, he actually did die. Like, he was not alive for a portion of some of them. So God will, and our spirit, it's all connected. So there's the conscious mind, which operates us 5% of the time,
Right.
which is what we think we're doing. There's the subconscious mind, which is operating us 95% of the time, which is like what the programming behind the scenes. And then there's the layer above that, which is the superconscious. And people don't really talk about the superconscious as much because this is where the science and the spirituality kind of overlap, because your superconscious is technically God or source or whatever your version is for something greater. So you're essentially, when we do my work, you're essentially like kind of like walkie-talkie style with God. Like, okay, here's what I believe, but here's what I want to believe. It's reprogramming ourselves because some people have programs that aren't serving them. How many of us have heard money doesn't grow on trees, or the world is a dangerous place, or to be afraid? Like, a lot of us have these programs that I believe we should check ourselves a little bit. Like, is that helping us to still believe that way? Is it attracting more of what you believe? Because our thoughts do become us. It's been proven time and time again that the things that we think become our reality.
I was skeptical. I would say before I started the the path on this, becoming a better version of myself for the things that matter to me, I would say there was a lot of skepticism when it came to that. Spirituality, journaling. I'm like, dude, does this mumbo jumbo really work? And that's me being real. And now when you dig into it, I'm like, holy shit, okay, this shit really does work. What you have to do, though, it only works when you do believe.
Exactly. That's the only person I can't help is someone that doesn't believe.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Some people aren't ready to hear it from the spiritual side. So that's why I add a lot of the science into it.
You know, let's talk about this. I actually think this is a great point, especially when it comes to men. I think you got to have that internal conversation with yourself as a man before, like, the other day yesterday I went on a hike. And this is a cool story. You'll dig this. I want to do hard shit just for the sake of doing hard shit every day.
Yep.
Just to push myself to the edge of what
I love
the capabilities
it.
are.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing running shoes. Really stupid idea. Don't go hiking with running shoes. Okay? Bad idea. But I'm there. I'm going up this hill. It's in San Alejo. Okay. Crystal, I'm up. I'm getting higher and higher. And literally, I'm really high now. Eat shit. I know I shouldn't be in these shoes. I don't have water. I don't have my hiking. I'm like, fuck it. It is what it is. I learned a lot about myself. I'm like, it is what it is. Like, life is a risk every single day. And you can't be afraid to move forward and just go for it sometimes. And I don't think we're encouraged to do that right now.
Well, in both situations, you have to go through pain. You can go through pain and be stuck, or you can go through pain and move forward.
Yeah. What's on the horizon when it comes to books? I know you were getting your online course. How's that going with the online course?
The online course is up and running, so that's beautiful. It's a great opportunity for people to continue the process at home. Maybe for some of those people that don't feel like being as open, or they want to work on themselves in a different way. That's why I have different resources for different learning. For 99 cents, they can get my Kindle book off of Amazon, the same book in Kindle format. I
saw that. You made it easy. And when I saw that, by the way, I was shocked. So kudos to you, because no other authors are doing that I've had on the podcast before. So really, really love what you're doing. How come you did that, by the way? You said you're an entrepreneur at heart, and we're going to have you back as an entrepreneur, because that's a whole different episode. What made you gravitate towards entrepreneurship? You got a love for it.
I do.
I do.
It's because I want to kind of lead a revolution, and I believe there are other people already doing this. So maybe I want to continue the revolution of heart-centered business.
Okay. Heart-centric?
Yeah. Not just the financials. The financials are important, but there's people that need my services that can't afford it. Just yesterday, I sponsored someone. Probably on a fairly regular basis, I'll help people that can't afford my services. And so when people do buy my book or support me, it probably goes out tenfold on what I do to give back, because I know that there's people in different places. Maybe a few years from now, maybe the person I gave back to will be in a different situation and they'll be able to give back to me. It's more about putting myself out there in a way that I'm creating a legacy. When I'm gone, I want people to remember how I made them feel. I want people that were walking in darkness to be like, you know what? I was struggling, and then I met this lady, and now it changed the trajectory of my life.
You're an expert at distributing hope, because I look at how you were able to. It's crazy to me. It still blows my mind what you've gone through, and especially the 9 car accidents. We'll have to do that over a beer, because I'm driving. I'm sorry. I thought you would laugh at that. That was really good. Did you have fun on the podcast?
I had a great time.
I love getting to know you. Like, more people need to get to know Crystal. So I really appreciate you coming on. Mindset Service. You got the book. We're going to put all your links. I would love to have you back. There's so many cool people that I want to introduce you to. Who do you want to thank? Who makes your life better? You didn't mention your kids' names. What are their names? How old are they?
Landon is 17 and Luke just turned 15 this week.
Get out.
Love
My oldest is Luke. Landon and Luke.
Landon
all
and
right.
Luke.
Landon and Luke, you got a great mom. I just want you to know that.
I love you.
Do something nice for her.
Someone I want to shout out is Mo Rock, actually. So I do have a new book coming out. It's called Legacy Builders, Leaders of Global Impact. And I just received an award from the LA Tribune on that book.
Shit.
Mo's the CEO of the LA Tribune, and I was very honored to receive that award. And I also am invited to Leadership Week this week. Anyone that wants to check out Leadership Week, it will be running all week, but it's also an event through the LA Tribune that has some of the most amazing speakers and authors.
You want to name drop a few of them?
Well, my girl Forbes Riley will be there.
Okay, all right.
Bill Walsh will be there. There's going to be
Bill Walsh.
Yeah,
okay.
Literally everyone you can imagine is going to be on that podcast.
And
Joe Vitale.
And Crystal, Lynn, Privett is going to be there too.
I will be there, yes. So I just wanted to shout out Mo Rock because he's a phenomenal person. He's actually creating a news source that people can listen to and be proud of instead of just the media that's kind of so disheartening.
I'm a huge Mo fan. I'm going to look him up. And he's got a cool name. Mo Rock.
It was super cool.
That's
I told him you rock and I sparkle.
You do sparkle. I love the sparkle. By the way, when you see this young lady, the sparkle is there. You'll know what I'm talking about. You can't see it here, but it's there. Favorite part about San Diego? What do you love about San Diego? Oh, yeah. Wow is right.
Yeah. So I came here at 17 years old all by myself.
Welcome.
And so I've been here since 2020. And I would have to say my favorite part about San Diego, I mean, obviously the weather. Coming from Colorado, the weather is just phenomenal. But I never thought I'd raise children in California because, it's kind of a little bit of a double-edged sword, I guess you could say. But
How PC of you.
yeah, but I'd have to say the community. I mean, I'm blessed to know so many amazing people in this community. I just got done leading my BNI Escondido group, and we have 50 people that join us every week to just share and collaborate and be kind to one another and give to one another. So many people you show up in this day and age and they just want and want and want. And if we can diffuse that by giving and giving and giving, I don't know anyone who's gone broke from giving.
And on that note, Crystal, Lynn, Privett, thank you so much for joining us. I had such a great time getting to know you.
My pleasure.
And you have an open invitation to come back.
I will be back. Invitation taken.